Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula is here.
And Fiorella, who says Pasta Jardula is here.
Like, Pasta Jardula here.
Is here.
You have to say your name properly so they can hear it, when they get the we ever do get a podcast going, they got to know who they're listening to every time. Because it might be the first time they're listening. Like, oh, let me try this group out, whatnot. And if they don't know who you are, then they're not going to come back. They're not going to know who they're listening to. They'll be like, who am I listening to over here? And they're not going to know that Johnny Sue is on the 1s and 2s unless we say it. And now they can hear it and they get the whole picture in their mind, fam.
Sure.
Guys, let's get into it really quickly today because we do have a guest coming on. Make sure you get over to the Rokfin, Rokfin, for the second segment as it will be on Rokfin only. But we also want to welcome today Odyssey watchers, live streaming Odyssey. Yes. So go on over to Odyssey if you haven't gone over there. It's the same name, The Convo Couch. That's CONVO Couch that you sit on. How do you like that, fam? All right. Keep sharing. Let's get it going. Let's talk. All right. Fam, there has been a nauseating tactic of sorts, or I don't know, a nauseating behavior online that we see coming from the synthetic left, the bourgeois left. Not like us, we're the dirtbag left, so we're a little bit different, you know. And the differences between those two different groups that is like right on the surface is the fact they have a difference of opinion when it comes to foreign policy. And the bourgeois left, when it's talking about this particular war, when it comes to Afghanistan, the praising of President Biden is getting a little bit too much for me, fam. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's fucking stupid, first of all, because Joe Biden, literally, the Biden administration, the United States, the Pentagon, the military, just got done droning a bunch of people in Afghanistan through supposed targeted drone strikes, right? An entire family was pretty much annihilated, specifically women and children, very young children. We talked about this on Monday. And then Biden goes and gloats about how we're still going to fight terrorism in Afghanistan. And we're still, we're going to, earlier on, he even said, we're going to find you. And he did all of this warmongering type of speech. And here are these people who, you would think that leaving the Hill would make Crystal Ball a little bit less of an establishment chill. But instead, she's going the other direction. Going the opposite direction where she's like just carrying water for the establishment. And Kyle Kalinske, you would think that having no affiliations any longer with TYT would make him more likely to be critical of the establishment. But instead, it seems like his face is so far up Biden's arse that you can't even tell the difference where one starts and one ends. Oh. And so I just wanted to go over a couple things here really quickly, because we have a Rokfin only large substance of our show, because everything that's going on is extremely important and we can't talk about it, right? So President Biden said, "Let me be clear. We will continue to support the Afghan people through diplomacy, international influence, and humanitarian aid. We will continue to speak out for the basic rights of the Afghan people, especially women and girls, as we do around the world. In the last 20 years, we have brought death and destruction to Afghanistan, a place that was once completely a growing, developed, metropolitan, beautiful area. We have brought nothing but disaster and death. And that's what we called pushing humanitarian. We know that anytime we say that, we don't mean that, because there obviously are interests that we're looking out for, and it's not anything to do with empathetic or humanitarian aid. Yeah. And women's rights, women's everything went down in those 20 plus years because of our complete and total just creation and radicalization of these fundamentalist groups. We empowered them. We supplied weapons to them. And he's saying we're going to continue to do this. So I'm confused as to how you get something positive out of what Biden is saying, except that the status quo is the same, except that the strategies are changing. The status quo remains the same. The strategy is of what they're doing, how they're operating changes from boots on the ground that were the soldiers, the American soldiers that were sent out there. Now you have drones. And drones kill more civilians than actual boots on the ground. Yeah.
By the way, too, as well, want to point out that they got to practice this drone warfare in the Obama administration. So here's Biden just enacting what he's been taught and what learned and stuff like that. And secondly, when you talk about the humanitarian aid, I do believe it was George Carlin, I could be wrong, who said that humanitarian aid is simply taking away money and resources from poor people in a first world country and giving it to rich people and elites in a third world country, because it never gets to where it needs to go to, right? I mean, that's why we talk about a lot of these bills and we use that term slush fund. There was a leftist person who said, Pasta, continue to use it. I don't care if the Republicans are using it now. We've been using it for a long time. That's what these bills are. They never get to where they got to go. So when you talk about humanitarian aid, where's that humanitarian aid going? The type of humanitarian aid we supplied in the first place to Afghanistan was weapons.
Yep. Exactly. So I just, just looking at what Biden says, right?
My bad.
Because Biden, no, that's the right one. We just did that one.
Did you read that one? My bad.
So let's just go ahead and play the video in his speech, because I wanna again go over as to what he actually said.
I simply do not believe that the safety and security of America is enhanced by continuing to deploy thousands of American troops and spending billions of dollars a year in Afghanistan. But I also know that the threat from terrorism continues in its pernicious and evil nature. But it's changed, expanded to other countries. Our strategy has to change too. We will maintain the fight against terrorism in Afghanistan and other countries. We just don't need to fight a ground war to do it. We have what's called over-the-horizon capabilities, which means we can strike terrorists and targets without American boots on the ground, or very few if needed. We've shown that capacity just in the last week. We struck ISIS-K remotely, days after they murdered 13 of our service members and dozens of innocent Afghans. And to ISIS-K, we are not done with you yet.
Sounds just like
As Commander-in-Chief, I firmly believe the best path to guard our safety and our security lies in a tough, unforgiving, targeted, precise strategy that goes after terror where it is today, not where it was 2 decades ago.
Jesus Christ, man.
Notice he blamed ISIS for the death of these Afghan people that the United States drone strikes actually killed. I mean, that was one thing. He said, we're not done with you, ISIS-K. He also said we will continue to fight terrorism in Afghanistan, right? He said that. Nothing has changed as far as the intention of what the United States is doing, just a strategy. He's talking about drone warfare. And am I glad that we removed troops physically from Afghanistan? Yeah. That's not what we're saying here. We're not against the physical removal. What we are against is the manipulation, the PR, the theatrics of saying, oh, the war has ended. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Finally, these people who voted for Biden or who pushed Biden, I mean, coincidentally, right, are the ones that are hailing him for this because they want to be right. They want to feel righteous that they did the right thing and they held their nose and voted for the imperialist warmonger, 1994 crime bill writer, Patriot Act writer, Joe Biden, quote unquote rapist, Joe Biden. That they want to feel okay about what they did. So what they're doing is they're hailing him for this so they can be like, Trump didn't do that. Trump would never do that. And that's their whole fucking mentality in this whole thing. Meanwhile, the status quo continues. And this is what Kyle said, Secular Talk, on his Twitter. He said, watching Biden's speech from today, and he basically told his critics on Afghanistan to blow him. LMAO. Right? And it's like, to me, it's just like so blatantly obvious, right? Like that this is just theatrics. It's just absolute theatrics for everything, because the United States does this sort of theatrics for every single thing. And you can find tweets from all of these idiots about, oh my God, how great Biden has been for ending the war. Let's hail him. Let's give him credit. I can't believe he's done this. This is great. Biden's turning out better than ever. Like, I mean, these kinds of tweets and people, their followers, if you look at some of the comments, I think I wanted Jonny to look at some of the comments. if you wanted to read some of them, I don't know. But there's one particular comment that I put, one particular picture that I put in his tweet that says, and I put it in the folder, it's a picture. It says, watching Biden's speech from today, and he basically told his critics, blah, blah, blah. This person said it actually was a great speech. I felt like I really liked Biden for once. And this person said, do you also like the tenants and civilians being killed 2 days ago, 8 of which were children? Like, this is what you do when you have an influence and you have an audience. You are framing their mind, and you're, you know, especially with his large platform, he's like, you know, people are like, yeah, it was a great speech. Like, I like Biden. You know, they're like, oh, he's right. Kyle's right. Kyle's just being fair. Kyle's just doing the right thing by telling his audience, like, hey, look, Biden did something great. No, he's not just doing that. He's not just saying it was good for Biden to remove the troops. He's gloating about Biden constantly, all the time. Some people think it's a joke, and it's not a joke. Some people think he's above it. He's not above it. This is about knowing that you want a job, that you want security, that you're playing ball. That's what this is about. And I think a lot of people who are really, you know, where we're at right now see it for what it is. Yeah.
I mean, the Biden speech really, which is nothing but glorifying a way of kind of pivoting into a drone warfare. And I don't understand how anybody can even like gloat about him, especially after he just kind of like mimics George Biden and ISIS-K. George Bush. What did I say?
You said George Biden.
George Biden. Because they look alike. And I'm going to be working on a Biden imitation, by the way, so I'm going to have to start reading the Biden imitations. Come on, that's a bunch of malarkey. I got to work on it. But yeah, that's all he did was glorify it. And once again, this is a guy who's pushed for every single war out there. You really shouldn't be praising him. The whole ISIS-K, we're not done with you yet. That was so disgusting. That was so disgusting. Because that's not going to be ISIS-K that's killed. It's going to be women and children that are bombed, just like they were bombed the other day. And we're going to have more of that, you know. And also the part that really was disturbing to me is like, we now have the ability that we don't have to do this with boots on the ground. Hello, we've had this ability for a long time. Yeah. Why did we leave boots on the ground for so long? Remember when he talked about the surge back in 2007 and nation building? You know, I mean, I just like the fact that people... I don't like the fact that people are just now they're just trying to rehabilitate and remake Biden in their own image, like he's doing
that's
something.
Exactly
good.
what they're
He's
doing.
not.
That's
He's
exactly
not.
what they're doing because guess what? They're going to urge you to vote for the next Democrat in a few years against the next Republican.
Yep.
And they have to maintain that. And progressives, what really irks me is that progressives are basically shit libs now. There's no difference between them. And these people that are, you know, like the Kyle Kalinskis of the world, they are pretty much in line with the establishment, and they're there to like keep people coming into the Democratic Party, keep people into the Justice Democrats, just like the Squad is. They're they're going to be the defenders of the Squad. They're going to be the people that just promote that. And I think that's so disingenuous because that's exactly what's in the way of people telling the truth. Like they're in the way. And when especially somebody from, you know, from Central Asia or somebody from West Asia views how these people, these journalists, these you know, geopolitical analysts view the quote unquote progressive media on the left from their perspective, they don't like them. And I can't blame them. And you know what? I'm right there with them because Americans who call themselves progressives and are the most popular independent media really have a shitty way of understanding foreign policy. They always take this sort of Western end where they're gloating about something that they shouldn't be gloating about. It's as if that people in the Middle East and in Central Asia don't matter. It's as if that those people's like perspectives just are thrown aside and just cast aside like nothing. They only care about like, oh, how they look, how Biden looks and how based he might be. Like it's so superficial. It's so insulting to a people that we have fucking destroyed their whole lives, their families and everything. So that's why it really angers me, honestly, to that point.
Yeah. A lot of people are questioning now what Kyle's motives are, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's, you start getting into the psychology of things and it's like, okay, you know, despite anything, we saw this kind of slow move towards the shit Libby side. And I think it's just kind of like fully now exposed itself about, you know, who you're working for, who your daddy is, and the fact you're calling yourself a Biden bro and kind of praising Biden on a surface level
fully.
thing. I mean, fully. I mean, it's, you said in the opening statement, his nose is so far up that arse. You know what I'm saying? And it's surprising to a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are going to not be fooled, but some people will be fooled.
Yeah.
And they will go that way because that's the problem with the boutique left, the synthetic left. You know, they're into idolizing people and idolizing people so much that despite their positions might be totally against what their values were, they'll move those goalposts just to justify standing behind someone who's completely wrong. And by the way, I don't know why... all my fams I've been unfollowing them. Twitter's been unfollowing like Glory Jones, Niko House, all these people. There's going to be a hashtag we were talking about out there. I stand with Blinken.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're standing with Blinken.
First of all, Blinken, and we knew this from the beginning. We knew Blinken's foreign policy compared to the Trump administration's foreign policy was going to be more cryptic. It was going to be more of drone strikes targeted. They even told us themselves that this is how it was going to be. So he said every year, friends and family members vanish after being arrested, detained, or abducted by government officials or accomplices. On the International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearance, we call on governments to end enforced disappearances.
He's talking to himself.
This is hilarious. Yeah. Like, this is like the cop, like, pointing at the cop, the Spider-Man pointing at the Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's exactly what
like
that is.
What it is, right? And Glory Jones said, we're just going to keep going with these, aren't we? What's next for the empire's brazen hypocrisy? International Unhoused Persons Day, International Incarcerated Peoples Day, International Accountable Police Day, International Day of Remembrance for Human Trafficking Victims. I mean, you got people like Julian Assange. You got a bunch of you know, other like political prisoners. You got a bunch of it's just so many people. You have she just mentioned them all. I mean, we're in this society where the government is complicit in all of this and in criminalizing poverty and extortioning people via the private prison system, all of these things that are happening, and they have the audacity to continue with their International Day of bullshit, because that's what it is. It's an International Day of bullshit.
Yeah, how many black ops sites does the CIA have all around the fucking world? I saw a documentary on it. Crazy, where they just pick people up and they disappear and they're gone. And really, to tell you the truth, fam, while we were going over this stuff today, I kind of just I wanted to talk about the differences between the boutique left and the dirtbag left. The dirtbag left was that article that was written by the Daily Beast, kind of reiterating who people were. They mentioned Jimmy Dore, Niko House, the Convo Couch, Alex Rubinstein, and our guest that will be coming on today, Teodrose, and also other members, I think, now that are joining the dirtbag left, or most members of the Gray Zone for sure, and Frank Analysis, Slow Day News, Facts on the Ground. There's a lot of other people. I think that Shanda and Amber and Oz are definitely dirtbag leftists, whatnot. And then we have this boutique left right now. And I've saw a lot of videos out there now. Some smaller channels have been making whatnot, and that's what kind of inclined me to talk about this. And that boutique left, what we're talking about right now, like these people who are moving the goalpost and are now just doing certain things. I mean, the psychology behind why somebody can be a boutique left, I don't know, has to be analyzed. But there is the financial situation, fam, because a lot of people, I think they get caught in that, that dichotomy of sorts of like, okay, I'm getting censored and I'm getting banned because I'm talking about this. Right. Maybe I should be more across the board and be more open to the other side. So therefore they kind of tilt that way, and they might kind of cheerlead for the establishment, and finances might come into play. Because I can tell you this, is as we're doing the Convo Couch being demonetized, it hurts. They wanted to kneecap us to take us out. They don't want us doing this. They want us doing other things to make a living. So that's why they do these things. So that can really move people in certain ways. I mean, when your rent is on the line, it gets scary. The boutique left are those like Sam Cedar, David Dole, David Packman. I think it's official now. The new members are definitely TYT, Jordan and Walker Bragman. Those guys are new. And the question would be is, a lot of people, and I've heard when they've been talking about the dirtbag left, is they said Kyle and Crystal. Where are they at now? Have they gone full boutique left, or have they gone dirtbag left? And there are some differences between the dirtbag left and the boutique left that I kind of put up there. Did you want to hit this up here too as well? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, he just had that on, and that was the article that called us dirtbag left, which, by the way, comes from Chapel Trap House, which I have never even heard like an entire episode of their stuff ever. So it's just like, it's just funny that they just did this whole general, blah on there. But yeah, no, you can go on with just that. I think.
Well, I just want to talk about the importance because I don't think I'm not talking about this for tribal reasons. Like I'm on this team and I'm proud to be on this team. I want to talk about why and the differences are, and there are major differences because I think it's a split in ideology, fam. It really is at the core. And the dirtbag left looks at power differently than the boutique left. The boutique left honestly believes that you can reform power, that you can vote your way, vote power out. A common phrase they use is, "We'll move them left." Is that possible that you can do that? I mean, we surely think not because we've been through the whole process. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we've been through a hardcore process of watching and seeing, trying to move the Democratic Party left, especially in California.
Yeah.
Does it work, fam?
No, it doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work. And then the other thing they do is they constantly capitulate to the lesser of two evils, which this thing is now sort of happening even with people who aren't part necessarily of the boutique left, who have been capitulating to the whole don't recall Gavin Newsom thing, like PSL, like a lot of these people that are going to vote no on the recall. When Gavin Newsom hasn't done anything for you, he hasn't offered health care for all Californians. He hasn't helped the unhoused population. Somebody said, well, he approved money for the homeless. And I'm like, have you actually talked to the unhoused people? Because we have, and they don't have any of that. They haven't seen any of that money. Yeah. They haven't seen a fucking cent. A fucking cent. And instead, things have gotten worse for them. So, no, he hasn't done shit for that. He hasn't done anything, really, for the environment. But the Republican, but Larry Elder. First of all, Larry Elder isn't even as high as the other Democrat YouTuber who is actually polling higher than Larry Elder. But they always have to focus on the Republican boogeyman anyway, because that's how they do. And if you continue giving into that, you continue capitulating, they know that they can always count on you to be a dumbass and to continue like giving into them without them giving you anything in return, which is why the left is so weak, because they don't get crap. They don't fight. They don't say, you know what, I don't care if, you know what, blame it on me if a Republican wins, whatever. By the way, we're still going to have another election, so that guy, whoever comes in, isn't even going to be there long, likely, because there's going to be another election. But they do this to the progressives, and they weaponize them, and they say, no, you can't, because this guy's going to put fascism in. What is the difference between Gavin Newsom and some other corporate establishment idiot? Please explain to me what's the difference, because I haven't seen any other difference at all.
Also, with doing this, the fighting for the lesser of two evils, you're now fighting for incremental losses. Yep. You're not fighting for incremental gains. He won't be as bad as the other guy. Well, you're getting nothing. And now you're heading down a rabbit hole where you're getting lost. And you can see Sam Cedar, David Dole, David Pakman, Jordan Walker. They all justified their voting for Biden. We have to do this because we have to vote out fascism. Where I think
you can't vote out fascism, guys. Yeah. You don't vote out fascism. You have to fight it.
Exactly.
There's no such thing as voting out fascism. Yeah. Do you think they're going to let you? Do you think a semi-fascist, authoritarian, capitalist, imperialist state that so many of you say you want to overtake is going to allow you to vote them out? Think for a second.
Yeah, and then you have to just make a point as leftist progressives and say no more. You have to understand the power of no. You have to let people know you're going to fire them. Yeah. Listen, in the restaurant business, we would fire somebody. We wouldn't have somebody to replace the manager right away. We'd have to find that guy. But it was important to make a statement to your values and what you're trying to do to fire that person. And this is, once again, what better time than now to tell Gavin Newsom, you're out of here. You didn't give the progressives shit. You didn't give the people shit. The homeless number's growing. You didn't give us Medicare for all in the middle of a fucking pandemic, or you didn't fight for it. You're out of here. Well, who are you going to put in? Larry Elder? It doesn't matter. Your ass is gone. Right. And now the establishment, no, and this is what the dirtbag left understands. We're not going to play those games anymore. Who are you going to replace him with? We don't care. That asshole's out of here. Now they know they can't. They have to give us something. They have to give the people something for their vote. You don't just blindly give them your vote. And also the last one is they idolize these figures, fam, too, as well. Rhetoric means more to policy. Oh my God, did you see what AOC tweeted? Oh my God, she's so bae. I'm going to vote for her. But when it comes to policy, she can vote fucking present on a bill that's completely against your number one issue and ideology, and you'll still take the bait.
Right. And that's the same thing that's happening right now with Biden. Do you notice the same exact thing? Oh, Biden tweeted, or he made a speech that was so base. Look, he said F you to his critics. Like, But what did he do? What has he done his whole career? What has the Democratic Party done? What has the Republican Party done? What has the military-industrial complex and the state agencies done? And what will they continue to do? Why don't these people look at actions over words? No, because the words make them feel good.
Yeah.
So they have to have that sort of dopamine, like to feel good about themselves. And that's the difference, because we're looking at actions. They're not looking at that. Yeah. They're looking at the words and say, but he said this and he said that, and that's better. And that's how low the bar has sunk.
Yeah. And the last reason why they call us the dirtbag leftists is because we talk to everybody. We talk to people who think differently than us. We'll fucking sit there and talk to David Duke if we have the opportunity, and we'll fucking question his ass, and we'll put him in a corner, and we'll do whatever. Well, I don't know if you will, but I'm not speaking, but I'm just saying we'll talk to anybody. And that's why they call us the dirtbag left, because they believe in cancel culture. They're very tribal. You can't talk to some people. You got to cancel them. Where, you know what I'm saying? I'm ready to go to bat. Let's go head to head. Let's mano a mano. Let's talk about this. Let's debate. But that, I think, is the reason why they call us the dirtbag left, is because we will associate ourselves and talk to people. It was in the article about the Boogaloo Boy. It was in the article about Black Lives Matter and the Proud Boys. You're not allowed to do this. You're a dirtbag for talking to a racist. But then they also expand the goalpost on what a racist is. Well, they call
everybody a racist, and I don't think I've ever actually talked to... I don't think I have ever in my life ever actually talked to a racist. I have been called out by a racist, but I have never physically said, hey, let me talk to this guy. And by the way, if I would talk to somebody with that ideology, I would be opposing their idea. And I would be exposing an audience to that debate of ideas, which is ever more just valuable to people, especially if you go on Fox News and you expose a popular, huge, gigantic audience of mainly conservatives to leftist, anti-imperialist ideas. That is a win. That is a win for the left. That is not a loss. And these people constantly trash on people like Dore or anybody from the gray zone that goes on there and actually exposes these people to that ideology. Now, I just wanted to finish this up by saying it's some sort of trend now to hate on Julian Assange. And obviously Twitter is a very, very toxic place at times, right? We've seen all the shit some of these people do, from the establishment shills like Ken Fedstein and from people like, Walker Bragman and all these things these people do. But at the same time, there's also this sector of Twitter that calls themselves they're communists. And, Pasta and I just got back from a conference where we were with a bunch of comrades who were communists. Now, Pasta doesn't consider himself a communist, but, for me, it was just so amazing to be surrounded by people who understood what I believe in and who were extremely in agreement with me about talking to everybody, right? Talking to everybody, and who understand that even though theory is important, you need to apply theory to now. You can't just pretend that these are the same material conditions as 1917 Russia, because they're not. And when your material conditions change, you have to change your fucking strategy. But instead, what these people are doing is they made it a trend to attack Julian Assange and mock the activists who are working hard every single day to literally free political prisoners, not just Julian Assange, but literally every single person that we've been talking about in the last few months. They've talked about Chelsea Manning. They talked about Reality Winner. It was never about just Julian Assange. It was about what he represents, especially now. It can't be any more clear with what's happening to us as independent media, people that are getting censored. We can't have our discussions about the vax on YouTube. We have to talk about them on Rokfin. We're constantly getting smeared, having pieces written about us, all of that. It's all so prevalent because this revolution that these people want will never be fought in the same way they think. It's not just going to be about overtaking the corporations. You can't do that anymore. You can't organize like that on the ground. They're outlawing protests. They're outlawing so many things. So what are you going to do? Well, you have the internet, right? And whoever controls the internet controls the game. Right now, the mainstream media, the propaganda machine, the political upper class, the predator class, they're controlling all the means of production, including the internet. We have a very, very propagandized working class people that don't know what's going on. How are you going to convince those people to fight on your side? Are you going to convince them by telling them that you want authoritarianism? Are you going to convince them by telling them that they're stupid and they need to go read theory? No, you're pushing those people away to the right. You're pushing them towards fascism, because we know historically that's what happens. And all the people on the right, the populist right, is embracing them. They're like, come here. Come, we understand. Look at the liberals. They're elitist. They don't care about you. The left is failing to embrace the working class because they're too busy shitting and deciding that they're all fascists to talk to them. And that's what the fucking problem is.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, I watch some of these videos, fam. You'll see this attitude you're talking about in the first 5 minutes of the, you know what I'm talking about, the interview I watched, the two people talking yesterday, the way they just kind of go out and demonize people right away. They push people away. They're not the people we want leading a movement.
They're pushing people in the
oh my
hands
God left
to the right. That's what they're doing. You are this synthetic left. These people, these anti-Assange commies, all of them are pushing people further to the right, and that's dangerous. This is why I'm entirely against that. So this person said this is because Jonny did something, and this is Jonny started something. So Jonny said. So Sal Kami said she is going to block Assange's, and then resorts to the "so you support Nazis" bit. No one supports violent or hate speech. Super divisive over something that proletariat should support: the freedom of a man wrongfully incarcerated. I can't view that because now I guess I'm blocked again. And so then this person said, free Assange does absolutely nothing materially for the proletariat. It will not free your press. Saying you don't support it and then saying that censoring them is wrong, as was said in the thread, is contradictory. You are, in fact, a moron. And so then I said, this segment of the left will find out too late that you can't have a revolution to overthrow the ruling class when you can't organize, can't communicate, can't exist outside of fascism. Without the Last of Us fighting propaganda, we are doomed. They're already coming after us, right? There's no, I mean, again, like I said, this is not the 1917 Russian Revolution. We need to control the internet and use the technology, and we're losing right now, right? And they talk about reading theory. They always say, go read theory, go read this. It's like, first of all, you're assuming that people haven't read theory, and you're right. A lot of the working class hasn't read theory. I happen to have read theory, but the whole point is when situations change, you have to change your tactic. Otherwise, you're going to continue fighting in an imaginary situation that's not really real to your present. And again, a lot of these people that I've been noticing are huge supporters of vaccine mandates, huge supporters of vaccine passports. Please tell me how that doesn't further empower the capitalist fascist system that you say you want to overthrow. How does a passport and a mandate controlled by the same system that you say is so corrupt that it doesn't matter, that you're not going to get free speech anyway? You know what? I agree with you. You're not going to get real free speech in this system because it's too far gone. But that doesn't mean you say, you know what, whatever, to hell with it all. Let's just go and speak about theory on Twitter. That's not how it fucking works. You're not doing anything to actually change things. Without people getting deprogrammed from the propaganda, you're not going to get them to fight and come on your side. Because right now we have way too heavily of a propagandized population. And these people think like this is, you can just go around and physically talk to people and it's going to make a difference. We can't do that anymore. The acceleration at the rate which is happening is too fast. So we have to use the mechanisms we have, which are the internet, which is independent media that's being heavily suppressed for a reason. And if you're going to stand behind big daddy government, capitalist, imperialist regime with the mandates, you really aren't serious about a revolution or overthrowing the bourgeoisie. You're just a cosplay Twitter communist.
Ooh. All right, we got to get to our guest because he's been waiting on the sidelines.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. It's all right. Guys, get on over to Rokfin. This is your last chance. Rokfin. Just to kind of cap on that, fam. New information has come to life. And that's from the Big Lebowski, and he kept on saying, new information has come to light, man. And when new information comes to light, you got to change the game. You got to change the goals. You got to change. Well, the goals might stay the same, but you got to change the tactics when new information comes to light.
Right.
That's something that's very important. So let's get on over to Rokfin, Rokfin.
Guys, get on Rokfin. This is an extremely important segment. I know I always say that, but the COVID segments are really, really important.
There was 5 people watching on Odyssey, man. That's cool that you guys were watching. Thank you for joining us today.
Are we keeping it on Odyssey?
No? Nah, let's go Rokfin only for now. But thank you for joining us on Odyssey, guys. We'll see you next time.
They don't censor either.
We got to see what they do. They do, I think. Okay, let me know when we're ready, Johnny.
Bye, YouTube.
By the way,